From Clique Games, we have both Brandon and Waylon. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Doing very good. So I imagine you guys are excited about your recent release of Rogue Ascent.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. Rogue Ascent is without a doubt the largest game that we have in our studio right now, especially, out there and published and released. It's been an honor of a lifetime to put out what we consider like a pretty revolutionary game for the Oculus Quest. And the amount of feedback that we've gotten has been incredible.
I'm a kid of the late 70s. I grew up in the 80s, a little bit into the 90s, and VR was like hung in front of our nerdy faces. For VR to actually become what it's become, I have a YouTube channel because I love VR. Right. So what is your history with VR?
I started in the industry roughly 2017. I always kept an idea journal on me, and VR was something that I didn't think was necessarily ready for it. But one of the things I wrote down was VR arcade. Okay. We actually opened up a virtual reality arcade, Spectrum Virtual Reality, here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We spent like a year before that just like studying the industry, traveling the States, and like kind of like exploring VR like at different attractions. It's what basically rooted us in the industry today.
It's exciting because you got to see people's eyes light up when they see VR for the first time.
With us being so busy, we spend less time at the arcade now. We love seeing everybody's first time reactions to it. And one of the things that's kind of crazy is from 2017 to now, you just like people's perception of VR has drastically changed. Now everybody's just like ready to game. Let's go for it.
That calls back to my history with VR. I had a VR headset before I had a smartphone. It's just crazy to see like those small incremental steps. And now we're at a point where we're nearing that indistinguishability from whatever we perceive now. It's crazy.
When did you begin your work with Rogue Ascent?
2019 was weirdly the beginning of it, and it's quite a story. Me and Waylon, through our arcade, decided to take a trip to DreamHack Atlanta in Atlanta, Georgia, 2019.
Sure.
And we're walking through and we see this game called Coffin Rot Brewing Co. And it's made by Nooner Bear Studios. And we go up, they've got a headset there, so we put it on, we're playing their game, and it's a pirate bartending game. You're trying to serve to the pirates and shoot skeletons and protect your gold, and we were blown away by it. One of the most beautiful VR games I'd ever seen. And we kind of gave them some information on how to get into our arcade. And it was during COVID is when I started Clique Games. And about a year after I opened the company, I reached back out to Jordan. And so we started just talking about our experience with Coffin Rot and Rogue Ascent. And eventually he came on board for us to publish those games.
So was he already working on Rogue Ascent when you made that offer to him?
And he had this idea for a long time. Jordan's whole background is creating roguelike games. Most of the time before we came on board was how do we like get a robust hand tracking system. And so we met him right at the moment where he was about to have something playable.
We talked about all the different layers. You've got like head tracking, then you got, hand tracking, you got all these things. And then you've got another layer is the invention of, rogue gaming back in the 70s and how that, was roguelite, relight. Right. There, you got so much going on, and truly it works. I remember reading a game magazine and I saw, this is like 1993, and seeing Doom. I remember looking at that just thinking like, there's no way in hell that this screenshot is real. And so I'm not saying this lightly. Like when I saw Rogue Ascent for the first time, I had that same feeling of like, wow. And part of it is that PC VR was more than just better graphics. There was a feeling to it, and maybe part of it was the independent developer part, where there were just really cool things happening that you've always imagined you could do if you ever had VR. And then when the Quest came along, there was like the iPhone-ification of it, of everything.
Oh yeah.
So when I saw Rogue Ascent, it's the first time I felt like this is a PC VR game. The games that I fell in love with that made me like go crazy over VR and the more recent years, I get that from Rogue Ascent. First of all, I love the aesthetic. Both of us. There's the hand tracking. The hand tracking is hard. And I know that Oculus is doing a lot of the heavy lifting in their APIs, but then making it work and doable and fun, that's the really hard part.
Yeah. What I would say to that is 100%, all rights, all of this praise goes to Jordan. Jordan McGraw is 100% I would argue one of the best hand tracking developers in the world right now. I'm sure you've tried hand tracking before. Normally it is horrible, and that dissuades not only the public, but also developers. Oculus does almost no heavy lifting from what we understand. It is the barest bones. It can see your fingers, and then the rest is up to you. Jordan spent, I think, upwards of like 7 to 9 months just on hand tracking.
Tell me about how you're using motion tracking in the game.
The most important part about Rogue Ascent is not making your hands into guns. It's about making you believe that your hands are guns. We want it to be so incredibly natural that your hand just does them. But we want people to reach their hand out and be like, I meant to do that, not because it's telling me to, but because that felt right.
That's a hard thing to do, but you're right. From my point of view, I'm going to get Rogue Ascent out to as many people as possible because A, it's a good game, aesthetically pleasing. It's fun to play. I think people are going to talk about it more than just us and shortly after something gets released. I think it's a bigger deal than that. What is the future, or I should say the path for Rogue Ascent? Because you've got it currently on side quests.
Number one, there's features we still want to add to Rogue Ascent. As the development, one of the biggest things we have planned is controller support. Once we've polished that system, we want to release it on the PC VR. We currently have a build submitted to App Lab. We're just waiting to get approved. So the next big step for us would be getting on that Oculus store.
Right.
Whether that comes before the PC adaptation, we don't know, but we plan on putting it on as many headsets as we can that can support it.
Demio, and I'll say Rec Room has done the same thing. Demio is going to be introducing like PC playing, so the person doesn't have to have a headset. Do you see Rogue Ascent being affected in that way when you go to a platform that requires controllers?
The big thing is we want it to feel as natural as the hand tracking does. Because like one thing Jordan really did is he spent that 7-month period basically building out that hand tracking so it felt as natural as possible. If you grab a controller and it's a completely different feel, we lost you.
So let's go back to the Rogue side of it. So you currently, I think you have 3 classes, but I believe in the current build, they pretty much all play the same, right?
The biggest part of Rogue Ascent in being a rogue is going to have to be in the classes, but I think more so than that is how those classes interact with the world. I'm a huge into summoner classes and putting up turrets and like TF2 engineering, there's nothing more I love than that. And so like, that's one of the future classes I'm sure we'll implement is somebody who can spawn turrets to fight alongside them. Obviously every rogue keeps active by implementing different game modes and different floor requirements. But more so than that, it's about keeping the player in a state where you pick a class you like, not because it makes the game easy, but because it makes the game more fun.
So we have all sorts of different ideas we're playing with. The other thing that he didn't mention yet is perks. Perks is a huge part of like every roguelike.
Sure.
We're going to be adding tons of perks. I think you see this spot in the vending machine.
Rogue Ascent is going to be chock filled with moments where you're just like awestruck with what's happening around you. And that comes from the perks, the upgrades, the classes, bosses, different areas, different events, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, this game has a lot of development left, and what I love about it is that right now we could release it as a full game and it would be a fantastic experience.
So I want to talk about the 3 aspects of it that I like a lot. First, the travel, holding your hand up over a distant area and then go into it. Right. There's a point where you realize that I put my hand up, I traveled, and then I left my hand up because something caught my attention, and then I traveled again. And then I was like, oh, I don't have to do this every time. So tell me about the travel system. How did that come about?
Yeah, so the travel system is out of necessity. Jordan's biggest thing was trying to make you feel like the rogue, make you feel like you were climbing up this tower to save the earth, you like that power. Yeah. And one of the coolest things that you can possibly do is Old West, throw your revolvers up, reach your hand out, super powerful. It feels great.
It feels really good. Sure.
So Rogue Ascent, how do you stay in one place going super fast without throwing up, having full control, having an exact place on the ground where you're going to land and letting you know when that's going to happen.
So I think it's really unique because I don't feel like I'm teleporting. You can actually move very fast through it. Basically, you can walk by, moving your hand back and forth a bit, or, you can run by just keeping it there. I'm one of those guys that gets sick with smooth locomotion.
Yeah.
So I felt like I had smooth locomotion speeds with teleporting comfort.
Right. It's so much work to make that feel good.
Oh, I imagine.
And he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it.
Next thing I want to cover was the watch.
Right.
So what was the origin of that?
Jordan might kill me if I'm wrong, but I believe his original inspiration was GoldenEye on the 64.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, with the watch.
What he said was that watch, and making that holographic is kind of a staple of VR.
Like that whole watch kind of came into play. Like you need a menu in the game somehow,
Right.
and so the watch also gives a way to like add those extra features without like with hand tracking being enabled still.
Wrist menus. When you tell somebody to look at their watch, they immediately know what to do.
The third thing I wanted to cover is the natural use of just doing this. This is the international sign for okay. Well, this is the international sign for gun, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody knows to do that, and everyone's done that as a kid. And now you get to do it in a game and actually like see a cool gun. It's not just your finger, you know? And then the turning it, you know, up to reload. It's just such a natural mechanic.
Coffin Rot Brewing Co. in that game, when you fire your gun, you have to flick it upwards to reload it. This was something that Jordan always found to be incredibly fun in VR games. Yeah. It's another one of those really small but really impactful power things. And that whole system, it predates Rogue Ascent, but it works. It feels incredibly good, and you don't have to worry about picking up ammo around the world. You don't have to worry about that. You worry about wasting your time not shooting.
All three of those points, the graphics, the pacing, I mean, you know, you guys have, I think, sincerely, you have something special on your hands. There's also the fact that it just looks like presentable as a still, or as, you know, a thumbnail on a video, or just watching it. And that's the same thing I got from Doom when I saw it as a still shot in a magazine. What do you think is the future with AR?
We've been just excited about AR as we have VR for a long time.
Very, very, very soon, faster than any of us will anticipate, you'll be able to sit down and do whatever you want without moving a muscle. And it's not that crazy. It's really not. And we'll see. You know, that's what I love about the industry. That's why it's an honor to be doing this every day, is what we're doing, even though it's just video games right now. This is it. This is the future of the entire world. Like, this is what we're moving to. I'm really, really excited to be a part of it. For sure. And that is the perfect place to end this. So let me ask you, is there anything that you want to add before we finish up here? Yeah, I would say if you liked our discussion about Rogue Ascent, it sounds cool. You can go to rogueascent.com and learn more about it, or you can go to clique.games. That's our website as well. I would say the best social media to follow us on is Twitter. We're Clique Games LLC. You can follow us there, and you can join our Discord from any of those links. You can find us on there. Genuinely, Greg, it's been like an absolute honor. Great conversation. Great points.
Sure. It was great picking your brain too.
Seriously.
There's a lot of us out there that I think are actually introverts that are now meeting in more comfortable arenas like this and VR, you know, for sure.
Yeah.
So, Brandon, Waylon, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All righty. Thank you.